Hello, loves. Welcome back to a brand new season 4 of Wildflow Podcast with me. I am so excited to be back. It's been a hot minute since the last episode. I just really needed a rest. It was deep autumn here and it was sound at the time. And I was being really called into rest in myself and my body. And season break just needed to happen. So it happened. It's been a couple of months, pretty much since the last episode. And I'm feeling revitalized and renewed. And I've got some amazing episodes already recorded to share with you this season. So I can't wait to dive in and to really cover some beautiful and important and potent and just necessary topics that we've not managed to get around to yet. Not because they're not important, they absolutely are, just the way it has been. And so I'm really looking forward to bringing these to you. And we're kicking off the season with a solo ep from me on cycle syncing powerfully in business. I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this one. I think that bringing cycle awareness into our work, whether it's professional or our own business, is just super powerful and often untapped. For a lot of people, it's just like a self-care thing that we chart our cycle and, we kind of know where we're at, but actually really living it and working with it and doing that deeper embodiment and implementation side of things is where it ends for a lot of people. And that is where the magic is. So I'm going to invite you to tune in, listen to this episode with me, and also come back for fortnightly new episodes with me and some incredible guests. Happy listening. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to Wildflow Podcast with me, Charlotte Pointeau. I'm an internationally award-winning menstrual cycle and embodiment coach, cycle mysteries guide, and founder of the First Moon Circle School of Menstrual Education for Children. Tune in for deep, heartfelt conversations with wisdom keepers, embodied leaders, and change makers on themes from cyclical living in flow with your menstrual cycle and body's wisdom, reclaiming rites of passages to normalize period positivity for you and the next generation, and exploring our embodied experiences, soulful transformations, and intuitive wisdom guiding you to express and embody your full power and the change you want to see in the world. Are you ready? Let's flow. When you're starting out on your own business from scratch and working out who you are and what your unique offer to the world is, or if you're up and running and it's time to expand or create something new, it's so easy to feel alone, like all the decisions are on your head, and to get caught in a tailspin wondering what the best way forward is. When it's just you and you aren't going to a place of employment where you're there to fulfill someone else's goals in the strategy they've set out for you, it can feel isolating to recognize that it's literally up to you to figure things out and make things happen for yourself, by yourself. But if we flip that on its head, we can also see that it's an incredibly liberating opportunity. Right? You have the experience, the chance to do anything that you want, any way that you like, on your very own terms. How freaking cool is that? I think this is the reason why so many people, and especially women who are carrying most often the extra load of family and home responsibilities, are choosing to leave corporate, to leave employment, to leave the 9 to 5, to leave the demands and rigors imposed by other people in their own culture, to leave behind the need to show up at 100% hype energy, focus, team player vibes, and full savviness every single damn day. Because that's really hard. That really goes against our cyclical nature. That just doesn't respect that we have lives, that we are humans, that we ebb and flow. But when you run your own business, you can call the shots, choose when to show up, how to show up, what to do when. And how rad is that? It's certainly why I decided to, first of all, change what I was doing. I trained as a youth mentor, then as a life coach 5 years ago when I was working elsewhere. I was a mother of two. And it was certainly my game plan to pursue that when I fell pregnant with my third babe. And I simply knew I just couldn't deal with the epic long commute to show up and make nice and play along with work when I was aching to be somewhere else, to be doing something else, to be able to work on my own terms in a way that honored who I was as a woman, as a cyclical being, as a mother, as someone who didn't even live in the city anymore as well. I was pregnant when my project contract ended. It seemed like a massive bombshell at the time, even though secretly I'd been calling it in. The universe delivers in ways we don't always expect, right? But I was offered to continue on the same project at a different organization, which was much closer, but still over an hour away from my home. It was like the universe was telling me, showing me a way out. But could I be bold enough to back myself, to trust myself, to let myself be supported in the short term to have my baby? And in that time, to establish the foundations for what is now my fourth baby, my beautiful business, so that I could be ready to pick up the business, to step into that when the time was right on the other side of postpartum. And when the time did come, I didn't flick a switch and go all in, as they say. That was just not going to work for me as a mum of three and with a husband who also runs his own business. So I had to ease myself in. I had to adjust my timelines, work out what success meant to me and not what to compare myself, to compare what I should be doing, how fast I should be doing it. So not comparing my timeline, my income level, the number of clients that I had against anyone else, because we are all at different points in our life, our story, our journeys, right? We're all different. There is no right or wrong. And it's so hard to stay focused on what's right for you, not to compare yourself to what other people are doing. I also had so little energy because hello newborn. And so baby steps, if you can pardon the pun, were essential on my way into business. Backing myself to trust the season of life I was in was everything. I needed to do that to give me a chance to sustain myself and my business. Giving myself that time just gave me the chance to get really clear on what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, how I wanted to work. And it gave me the chance to drop into enormous clarity on how I could help other women by sharing the journey I had been on. Because I was learning to do life and biz on my own terms, which was in direct contrast to the way that the mainstream culture works. And it also goes against what most business coaches will tell you. I had to really stay rooted in my own truth. I had to really listen to myself, listen to my body, and honor where I was at. When we begin work life in employment, we learn pretty fast some essential survival strategies, such as to work hard and play hard as a strong team player, to leave your personal life and feelings at the door. If you put in extra, you'll get noticed. Hide your women's issues at all time because that makes you a massive weakness. That women make the tea. Mine's white with no sugar, thanks, love. Don't expect a pay rise unless you do extra hours and extra projects. And also you've got to get your case across the line because some man at the top has to deem you worthy of promotion or bonus. And even if you measure out all of your achievements against the award scale, even if you think you qualify, be prepared for a fight about justifying why you should earn what the men earn. Sound familiar? I know that you have experienced this too, like I have. It's unwritten and unspoken code, and we all absorb and internalize it deeply. So we then hold ourselves and others to these same patriarchal standards as well. Unsurprisingly, when that moment happens, whatever catalyzes it, when you do decide you're ready to leave behind your old work life and you're ready to step out and start your own business, it's inevitable that you're going to bring these same standards across with you. because it's all you know, it's all you've learned. It's how you have learned that you must operate in order to succeed. It's said time and time again that running your own business means working 24/7 because even when you aren't working, you're thinking, dreaming, eat, sleep, dream, repeat about your business. And yes, if you leave your job and you need to immediately start making money like yesterday, then of course, definitely that would need to be true. However, that's just not the way that most women are coming to a coaching, creative, consulting, or healing space holding business. We are wanting to replace an income for sure, but there are other reasons and factors that play into why we're doing this and how we're doing this too. Often, this can look like taking training and getting started on the side of an existing job or raising a family, like I did. And so, this business that you're stepping into is one that you do have the chance to get established before you need to be replacing an income, which, if you are just on the precipice of stepping into your own business, by the way, this is a great idea for how you would do about that. Do try to set things up on the side instead of just like flicking a switch and jumping from one to the other. So, when you're stepping into business, you're going to bring with you what you've learned from your work life so far, right? And typically, you're hoping that you're going to be able to focus and work without distractions, to have protected time like you would if you were going to an office. You want to make your beautiful creative workspace, and you're going to sit down and map out your schedule across your working week, ready to dive in. But before you know it, you're realizing that it's a lot harder than it seems. There's a lot more involved. And you're working harder than ever without really having a clear map of how your business needs to work, what it should look like on an operations front, how to maybe even run a business. And then there comes this moment where you start to question it all. You might invest in some business coaching or take some trainings, maybe even hire some help to outsource what you can't do. You map out a strategy of how you're going to work, what services or offerings you want to offer, and you focus on doing all the mindset work as well as the strategy work to help you stay focused and strong. Makes sense, right? Yes, but here's the thing. Despite doing this, so many women fall into the hustle trap and into comparison, where you might have a strategy, but since you could do things any way you like, you start wondering what others are doing and questioning if you could be doing it better yourself. You start tweaking things, changing things. You're not trusting yourself. You might even be doing the mindset work. But if you're really honest, changing your thoughts alone isn't actually stopping that seed of self doubt that's been germinating in your belly from growing bigger and stronger until its roots have really taken hold throughout your body. Because changing your thoughts is one thing, having a strategy is one thing. But if you're not really listening to yourself and working with your body, which, is like 80%, 90% of your being, then you're not like you're fighting an uphill battle. Working this hard is not why you decided to start your business. You wanted liberation from the shackles of 9 to 5 and more, not to be tying yourself up in the same ropes. It is a slippery slope to losing trust in your own capacity and judgment when you get all up in your head and under these pressures of trying to make it work in the way that you think it should, maybe the way that you see other people doing it, maybe the way that your coach is telling you how to do it, rather than sticking to the values that matter to you and without following and listening to your own capacity. Your capacity is the amount of time, energy, and resources that you have to allocate to doing life, which can change tremendously based on many things, like how much sleep you've had and your health, whether you have kids or not, or anyone else that you care for, money, time, but also the state of your nervous system. So, how much capacity in your body and your nervous system do you have before you reach overwhelm, before your nervous system is triggered into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and where also in your life and menstrual cycle you are? This greatly affects your capacity. So, it's all well and good to work hard, but you can't forget or override the fact that you're a cyclical person, regardless of whether you have a menstrual cycle or not. Your body operates on a cyclical basis, which means that your capacity, your energy, your mindset, your creativity, Things like clarity, confidence, resilience all change across the cycles and seasons of life and of business. And if you are ignoring this, you're just not doing yourself any favors. You're fighting against yourself. I know so many of you listening here are cycle savvy and are really keen to not just listen to your body's menstrual cycle and to tune into how you're feeling. And you're honoring it with self care, but you also really want to take this cycle wisdom and let it support you in the work realm too. You know that you can't go back to how things were, and you're ready to really embody what you know about cycle wisdom and particularly how you experience it for yourself. And you want to see examples and find support to work cyclically yourself too. Well, I'm here to tell you firstly that, hey, you're my kind of woman. And secondly, that working cyclically, it can be done too. And not just done, but done powerfully, well, with great success, ease, and abundance. When I grew my business postpartum, I knew I needed to have flexibility to work around my children so that I could be present with them until we were ready for daycare. I knew I could not see all the clients in the world because I just simply didn't have the time, energy, or capacity to do so. I knew I valued having the liberty to decide when and how I would create, when I would put something new out into the world, how I would do that in a self-respecting way that felt good to me and like not just good in my head good, but good in my body good, rather than following the industry standard approach, the way that other people do it and tell you to do it, that can often involve serious hustle, pipelines, funnels, workflows, and all that jazz. Like strategy is important. I'm not saying it's not, but strategy can really come at the expense of working cyclically. It might be great if you have all the resources, the support, like maybe if you don't have children, maybe if you have no health issues, maybe if you're a man and you have like abundant, consistent energy every single day. But for women who are really trying to tap into their cyclical energies and to really nourish themselves and let their bodies sustain and nourish them and their lifestyle rather than be draining, then it's really important to tap into, okay, there are these strategies out there, but what works and feels good for me? So as my hormone levels shifted and my menstrual cycle finally returned after I'd had my third baby, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I was all the time learning that I was a different version of myself each week, and not necessarily day to day, but like every few days, both in my cycle, at home and in my family life, and definitely in my business too. I was showing up differently as a coach and a space holder. The way that I would engage with clients changed. The way I showed up on social media and, talked about what I was doing and invited people to work with me, 100% changed. The way I was able to plan and vision and take myself seriously as a businesswoman massively changed. Like so much change. It's ridiculous. I realized there were times of my cycle when I felt clear as day, solid as a rock, and so alive with energy, possibility, and self-belief. And this was when I would go organs blazing without fear and share myself with the world. But that wasn't consistent because as my hormones changed once again, so did my energy, capacity, and level of self-belief. I'd go from proud and powerful to crumbling, hiding, and spinning in circles of doubt over the space of a few days to a week. You might resonate with this, and you might resonate and think about like times that you can recognize in your own cycle when you feel similar, even if it is a little bit different for you, because everyone experiences these things differently. And that's really important to understand. You might have had the thought, well, having a menstrual cycle does not help us work and show up consistently like we have to do. We can't simply just close down our life and business for 2 weeks out of every month. So is it really possible to have a life and business that flows with our cyclical nature? Or is that just like, the stuff of modern fairy tales? If you've thought this, I so hear you. There's very little evidence out there that it's possible to build a successful cyclical business. But yet over here I am waving at you. I've done this. I work 3 days a week because my 3-year-old she's nearly 4, but she's in daycare 3 days a week. I've got 2 children at school, and school hours are very, very short. I do 1 to 2 evenings a week. And when I say evenings, that's like 90 minutes. Not every single week. That absolutely ebbs and flows with my cycle. And I have really strong boundaries around what that is. So that's not every week at all. That's like every so often. I will do a week night. And like very rarely I will do a Saturday afternoon if I'm doing a first moon cycle for children. And that's like every 3 to 4 months, I'll do one Saturday afternoon. So I'm pretty much running this business off of 3 school-hour work days with a little bit of time around that when I feel like I've got the energy and the capacity to do something extra, because I just don't have access to any more time than that. My husband runs his own business. He's got a bigger business than mine. It's not that his is more important. It's just that the nature of his work means that he always has to be on. He always has to be doing his work. And that's the way he's built that up. And I've encouraged him to try to find ways to not do that. But, that's his journey. My preference is to have something that doesn't need me all the time. I'm not showing up live all the time. I'm not sitting down, just like solidly coaching all day, every day. I'm not spending hours on social media. I have time to create. It's important for me to have time as I start my day, even though like don't have that much time to drop into myself, to transition from mother trying to get her children to school into Charlotte, the woman, the creative, the coach, the space holder, the businesswoman. Like that transitional time, especially on a Monday morning, is not quick, but it's essential for me to be able to operate from alignment and trust and flow and abundance rather than shit, all the things I've got to get done in so little time. And people always say to me, like, how do you do this? I don't know how you do this. And honestly, I do feel like, there have been absolutely times where I have worked hard. There were seasons where I've worked hard. There were definitely times and projects I've had where I've worked hard. And I might have picked up extra time here and there to do that. Or I might have had to shorten the amount of pleasure time, or like drop more into admin, or get into like content creation mode for a course, for example, that has like demanded more of me. But that is like something that happens cyclically and seasonally, depending on what's going on in my business. And I will absolutely buffer that with time and space to balance it out, because everything in business and creativity and family life and everything is cyclical. Everything is cyclical. So if you have like been really learning about cycle awareness and like really wanting to tap into this for yourself, I want you to know that there's a really big difference between knowing cycle awareness and actually living it, like embodying it, like being it, holding it, feeling it, expressing it in your body, not just in your head. Like it's one thing to think, oh yes, I'm on cycle day 14, just for example, so I must be around ovulation. To recognize, like, is that actually true for you? And also beyond that, like, what qualities does day 14 bring to you? How does it feel? What do you need? What are your inner strengths and vulnerabilities at that time? It's one thing to know that ovulation means inner summer, which can be a good time for being expressive or nurturing or creating or putting yourself out into the world. If that's not actually how you experience that time of your cycle, if that's not actually true for you, and especially if you don't actually feel like doing that because you're burnt out and need a rest. You might be neurodivergent, for example, and have like a very different experience of this time of your cycle. You might be a mum and like get to this point and you're just knackered. Or you might just get to this point and feel like you're thriving and flowing and everything is effortless and pleasurable and joyful. Like it can be different for everyone. So it's one thing to know what a textbook or somebody has said, like this is what this day or this season of your cycle should feel like. It's much different to actually understand what it's like for you, what strengths come up, what vulnerabilities come up, what feels good to you to do in your business at that time. And if there's something that you just have to get done anyway, like how can you really nurture and nourish yourself, sustain yourself around that, like to buffer it out? So it's one thing to actually like intellectually know what the cycle and what cyclical life and business could look like. But what does it feel like? What does it take to bring it to life? Embodiment practices are essential for you to be able to cultivate the life and business that you desire. You need to be able to nourish and increase your capacity in your body and system to be able to hold yourself through all phases of your cycle, not just to know what seasonal vulnerabilities you are likely to experience. You don't just need the map for understanding how to vision, create, expand, grow with the cycles of creativity and business, and how you can personally transform across your cycle by working with the cycles. But you also need to be able to drop into your body's wisdom to actually live it and bring it to life. I'm really passionate about embodying this cycle wisdom, not just knowing it. Like I say, let's take it off paper and into your body. So change cannot happen if you can't experience and hold that change in your body, because your body holds all the stories from the past about how you've kept safe and small before, how you've survived. So to change the story, you have to learn to trust yourself, to trust your capacity to make aligned decisions that will support you, to not come from a people-pleasing place, to trust yourself to be able to find feelings of safety in your body even when you're doing something new, to trust yourself to deliver on what you say you can, to trust yourself to be able to hold boundaries and be your full self, even when you do feel that pit of self-doubt in your tummy, to trust yourself to know your needs and be able to speak them and ask for what you need. Cycle wisdom teaches us to accept and embrace our wholeness, all of who we are, and to find safety, resilience, strength, and trust through all the seasons and stages. And life and business are 100,000% going to test you with chances to doubt yourself and fall back into these old ways, even if they're not good for you. So, when you can understand how life, business, and creativity are all cyclical, just like you are, you can tap into the powers and nourish the vulnerabilities that come up during each season. And I wanted to just share with you an example of mine personally. Like, this is what's happened to me in the past in my menstrual cycle in like a work context. So during my bleed time, I used to not have the chance to really take rest. And this is something that I've been like banging on about. And, you know, there's this modern feminism thing of like where, you know, we should be able to have it all, like do it all, be it all for everyone all the time. And like, you know, rest just isn't possible. And I don't want to rest. Like, sure. Okay, I get that. But like redefining our relationship with rest is super important. So what I have learned to do is, as I really appreciate that how you start anything is how you mean to go on. So nowadays I find some time to journal and think about what's coming up during the next cycle, and also beyond that, like what am I planning or delivering next in my business? And I let myself feel into what I want that to look like in terms of loose practicalities. Like I'm not getting into the nuts and bolts of things at this point, and how I want to feel as I do those things. And as part of that, like what boundaries I need to stop me veering off course, because I know I will. And I'll tell you about that. So, like starting off at this time is really important. And I used to not prioritize rest. I used to not give myself this chance to just land and find a still point and like vision, like what's my intention going forwards. So when I was when I was not giving myself this opportunity, come my inner springtime, like when my bleeding had ended and my energy and hormones were rising, in the past, this is what it would look like. It was all guns blazing, and my inner maiden self, the young Charlotte version of me who lives on, like your young self lives on inside of you, would show up with her old survival and safety mechanisms. She wants to be a good girl, so she wants to do all the things. She wants to get lost in being busy, and she hates being pulled back into the real world. She gets overwhelmed wants to say yes to too much. And although it feels great to have this much energy again, she really needed boundaries like children do, right? To keep her on course. She also realizes that at this point in the creative cycle, she's got something to share with the world, but she's timid and fearful of rejection. So I would find myself really squirming at showing up online, like sharing how I can be of service to the people who need what I can give them. And I'd struggle to put clear thoughts and plans into actions. And so I would just stall. Then, come my inner summer, that fire had just burnt out if I hadn't sustained it. I didn't know if I had the energy to keep going. And as I dropped into my inner autumn, major wobbles would strike. It would feel like, what the fuck am I even doing? Did I just waste all that time and energy? Is anyone listening? Does anyone care? Wah, wah, wah. It was such a pity party. But I had, as I learned this cycle, like what's happening for me in terms of my energy, my mindset, like how I would show up, how these old patterns from old versions of me would come out and sabotage me. I've learned to listen to my body and implement tools and strategies to nourish these fears and bring out the many strengths that were hiding just behind those seasonal shadows. So instead of collapsing in autumn now, something special happens. This wobbly moment might crop up, but instead of it sideswiping me and lingering, it just comes up for like a day max. And when I feel that, like I know what the sensation of that energy and mindset is in my body, like faster than I can recognize the thoughts and stop them. So the thoughts can spin and spin and spin. It's only when I recognize, like, it's when I can tap into the sensation of that in my body, I go, oh, this is what it is. I can do that quicker than actually stopping the thoughts. Okay. So this embodiment work is faster. As I recognize it, I realize that it's a transitional day. And I trust that if I can give myself some love and compassion that day, instead of forcing myself to do anything visible, I can come back tomorrow when my energy's really landed and I'm in that full premenstrual enchantress vibe. And the enchantress version of me is fierce and she is a vibe that I really love. She's fierce, not in a destructive way, but she's tapped into a deep well of inner knowing, self trust. She knows her worth, her values, and she's not going to let her boundaries crumble. She doesn't make a decision out of scarcity, out of fear of judgment or people pleasing. She's not afraid to say no when it's the right thing to say. She'll speak a truth. She's the definition of a sovereign, empowered, embodied leader who isn't here to be like anyone else, and it is fun. Gone are the days of PMS and overwhelming critic. She is the version who can powerfully serve clients, create from alignment, and be visible on social media without doubting that what she has to say is helpful to those who need to hear it, right? We're here to be of service. So we need to be sharing our message, getting ourselves out there in front of people who need to hear from us. They want our help. If we're there dithering in the background, it's not helping us and it's not helping our potential clients as well. So I can now welcome this energy because I've learned to tend to this inner maiden and the mother who comes up in my inner spring and summer beforehand. So there are shadows there that come up, and I have to be able to notice those shadows, understand what they are, and like tend to those shadows, but also bring out those strengths that are living behind those shadows as well. So if I get the rest of my, like the start of my cycle humming and flowing, then I can really just like be in this powerful, like these different versions of powerful energies across my whole cycle. This can bring me much more balance, ease, pleasure, and like flow and trust. Like I trust myself. I trust my capacity. I trust the process. So doing this deeper embodiment work helps me build my capacity in my body to stay the course, to accept all of myself, to feel more pleasure and magnetism. To tend to these wounded stories that come out at different times means that I'm stronger. I have more self-belief. I know that I can work with my cycle. I don't need to shut my business down for 2 weeks because and I can still do all the things, and I can powerfully launch, and I can powerfully show up, and I can powerfully hold space for clients. It's not that I'm just not doing these things consistently. It's just knowing the level of support I need to be able to do these things varies across my cycle, and the way I want to do these and the timelines and my measures of success vary. So living and working cyclically is not just about cycle syncing tasks to the right section of your business. It's about nurturing what comes upon the inside during those phases too. Learning how to powerfully express your truth and your strengths, and how to tend to the parts of you that need some love when and as you need it. Because your body and your cycle is more wise than we recognize. Guiding myself through my own cycle and the cycle of creativity and business this way has helped me too. Just wanted to share some examples because this is the gold. Like this is it. It's helped me to trust my own timelines for when I want to see clients or launch a program, to trust my ability to powerfully hold my boundaries by saying hell yes and hell no to the right opportunities, to make the right choices about who I work with, to be able to express, like to charge powerfully and to hold that price that I ask in exchange for my time and my energy and my knowledge. And also like to know when I want to create and how I want to create and when I want to create, so that I'm creating from a place of alignment and not just making the first thing that comes to mind. Like I'm choosing the right things and pouring my energy effectively into the right tasks in the right way, so that I'm not just like spraying my energy everywhere. I'm not getting swayed by how anyone else is doing things or by how much another coach is earning or even where I think I should be at by now. I trust that I'm already doing it, even when I feel like somehow I'm not. I trust this path because it feels good and right to me and my body, even when it goes directly against all the messages we receive about how hard we should be working and how fast we should be quantum leaping. So if any of this has spoken to you in your body, if you're feeling sensations of aliveness, of excitement, of intrigue, of possibility, if you're feeling like, ooh, and you would like to feel more deeply trusting in your own capacity to bring cycle wisdom into how you live, work, and play, if you would like to feel more trust in how you're able to show up in your mindset, in your like tapping into your power, your confidence, like trusting that you're using your energy wisely as well, then I would love to share how I can guide you. I'm just opening doors to my signature group program, Cycle Sorcery, which is a 4-month embodied journey through the magic, wisdom, and strengths of each of the inner 4 seasons of the cycle, guiding you to tap into your body's power and cyclical wisdom to help you grow your soulful business and cyclical lifestyle. It's for women who want to flow with the cycles rather than hustle against it, whether you're brand new to your creative, coaching, healing, consulting, or space holding business or creative venture, or whether you are well and truly established, but seek more freedom, more flow, more ease, more spaciousness for yourself, for your own well-being, for time to yourself, for your creativity, for pleasure, and to be present with your family. Places are already being snapped up, thankfully, gratefully, behind closed doors, because some of my private clients and students have accepted those places. They want to keep working with me. And so the best place for you to find out more about whether this is the right container for you to take you from self-doubt to sovereign cycle queen, jump into my website or find the link in the show notes and head to charlottepointo.com/cycle-sorcery. Places in this journey are limited to just 10 so that I can really hold a deep and powerful and bespoke space for you. Like I say, some of these spaces have gone, and by the time this goes to air, maybe even more will have too. Doors close on the 31st of July and the journey begins in August for 4 months. I would love to invite you in and hold the space for you. So let me know. You can DM me on Instagram at charlotte.pointo.coach. If you have any questions, I would love to hear from you. Until next time, then, my loves, go with the flow of your own unique body and cycle. Thanks so much for listening to Wild Flow. I love having you here. If you're loving this podcast, please show your love by leaving a review and a rating, and share your fave episodes with those who you think would love to listen to help share this passion project of mine with the world far and wide. To take the next step and learn how to live, love, and lead in flow with your cyclical nature, or for deep guidance and support in your cycle embodiment journey, discover my freebies, online journeys, trainings, and coaching on my website at www.charlottepronto.com. Until next time, go well with the flow of your body's cyclic nature.